What's up guys, Tim here from Audio Tutor. Today I'm going to teach you how to create static noise using the ES2 synthesizer from Logic Pro 10. If you are using your own synthesizer or a completely different DAW, I'm sure you can translate my settings over to your particular setup, but for this example we're going to be using the ES2 synthesizer from Logic Pro 10. So I'm gonna quickly go through the settings I use to create static noise, and then we're going to quickly dive in and I'll show you an example of how you can use static noise in your music production to help add energy and lift maybe the chorus of your song or something like that. Of course, static noise could be used for sound effect purposes. I think that's where I first came across it. Say, for example, you've got two police officers in a movie talking to each other over a walkie-talkie. You're going to need static noise in that sound production. All right, so you get all that walkie-talkie stuff going on. All right, but we're going to talk about your music production and how to use static noise in your music production to get things going. All right, so let's dive in. Alrighty, here we are in Logic Pro 10. So first off, before we go into any of this music production stuff, how do we create the static noise sound? Let's do that first. Alright, so ignore this track that says static noise. That's one I made earlier. First, you want to add a software instrument, of course. So let's do that. Software instrument. Then, choosing your instrument, you want to choose the ES2 synthesizer. Alright, ES2 synthesizer stereo. Ta-da. Right, and then you don't need to open the library or anything like that, and don't worry about my output settings. That should just say your usual output device. That's my one so that I can talk to you guys. All right, so let's create. Comes up like this. Ta-da! All right, this is the ES2 synthesizer. Those of you who have used it before, welcome back. And those of you who haven't used it, just don't be overwhelmed by it. All right, it looks like a lot of buttons and dials and digits and oh dear, it's confusing, but it really isn't. Once you get into it and you start understanding what each thing does, it's just a lot of fun. There's a lot of things you can adapt and change, and it's the same as any synthesizer. It can be a bit overwhelming when you first look at it, and then once you know what you're doing, it's like anything. It's like an instrument. Once you know what you're doing, it's fun. So let's have a look. I'm going to just grab my preset here, static noise preset. So you'll notice there's one oscillator here that's open. It's the third oscillator, and believe it or not, it's set to noise. I know, it's very surprising. And it's in mono. The analog is, I believe, all the way up. Yeah, all the way up to full. You can play around with that a bit. We've got the tone is on bright. You could play around with that as well. That's over here. You can take that down to dark as well. That could be interesting. And then, something else to look at. You might want to take this release all the way down here, and then the attack all the way down like that, and then the sustain all the way up, right? You'll notice that when we play a note, right now it's coming on and off very quickly, all right? It goes on, off as soon as I stop playing the note. But that's because I've got the release all the way down, right? So if I bring the release up like this to where it is normally, it's not quite as instant. That might make a difference to you. It may not, all right? If we take everything back to normal, like so, it's just got a bit more of a sustain on it. So it's just something to keep in mind. All right, so I'm going to do this like that. All right, and if I were you, I would just pause the video and copy all my settings. All right, it won't take as long as you think. Copy them out, and I don't need to be talking anymore. You just copy those settings, and 3, 2, 1, pause. All right, so now what you'll find is it sounds like this, and no matter what note you press, it sounds the same. All right. Right. Sorry for your ears. Something you definitely want to make sure you do, all right, is head on down here. You see in the corner, it says volume. That's your output volume. Turn it down, otherwise your ears will possibly bleed. You find it very loud. I've got it at -12, right there, looking right up to the sky. if you are anywhere up here, 0 or even 6 dB, then you will hurt your ears and maybe damage your speakers, so don't do that. Yeah, I've got it minus 12 dB. Okay, so that's all set. Now, some interesting things. I'm going to go back to this one over here. Let's delete this one. Interesting things you can do. We're going to talk about the music production technique, but adding a bit of reverb can make it sound very nice. So let's listen to the reverb on this. Right, that sounds nice. It's a bit quieter, I'd turn it down. You hear that? It's got a nice sustain. So that's something interesting to do. Another thing to do is you could grab like a phaser or a filter or something like that. So let's have a look. Oh, I like the micro phaser. Let's grab that. And I really like, this is like a secret little tip for you guys. Background movement on the micro phaser here on Logic Pro 10 is really cool. It's like an instant cool button. So let's have a listen to that. Whoa. Wow, wow, wee, wow. So that's good fun, something to look at. Just depending on your music style, what might suit it, sort of thing. If you're doing rock or something like that, then having swirly synths going on may not suit what you're doing. But that's something I want to talk about next. Let's talk about the music production and how we're going to use static noise in your music production. Now, this track is like a dance track. I don't know. It's a made in a few minutes track. So let's have a listen to it. But don't be discouraged. If you're like a rock singer and you cannot think of anything worse than creating a dance track, that's fine. That's fine. I understand. You can still use static noise not just for dance. You can use it for all kinds of things. Say you've got like a rock pop track going on, and you've got this big drop in the chorus. You could throw some static noise in there to kind of give more of that wall of sound vibe. All right, give more of that idea of like everything's coming out at once. So don't be discouraged just because this is like a dance track thing. You can still use static noise all over. So have a listen to what I've got. It's literally a bass line and some drums. Very cool. I like that bass sound. I was playing around with that for a little while. I got distracted playing around with that. Okay, so what we're going to be doing with the static noise here is we're going to be using something called sidechain compression. All right, so you may have heard of that before, and you may be like, well, that's a cool word for something, but I don't know what it is. Or you may be like, phew, I've done this so many times, you don't even need to tell me. If that's you, well, I don't know, stick around, because you never know, I might give you some tip you've never done before. All right, so let's unmute this. Have a listen to what it sounds like finished. All right, and without. And with. So as well as like an energy lifter, it's also kind of gluing things together. It makes you kind of feel the drums and the, I don't know, I feel like it sort of glues the drums and the bass together. Makes you feel like less like you're listening to two different tracks and you're listening to a song. So it's kind of glue, it's kind of energy, it's fun, and this is how we make it. Let's grab the compressor. So sidechain compression, yes, involves a compressor, surprising. So I've just got the Platinum Digital compressor here from Logic Pro 10. I'm using this because I didn't really need any extra saturation to this. That's not really what I'm using the noise for. I don't need saturation. The sound is already there. So I'm using something that's very clean, the Platinum Digital, which is Logic's cleanest compressor, and it is super clean. I mean, it's very difficult to hear anything being added when you compress things. Anyway, it's kind of irrelevant. So this is how you set up sidechain compression, and it's very simple here in Logic. It's simple in Pro Tools as well, but I think it's simpler in this. I prefer Logic. So sidechain up here in the corner where my mouse is, sidechain, you want to select your particular instrument, right? So for this, I literally have Big Room, it's called, and Magnus is playing the Big Room kit, apparently. All right, so I just want to select that instrument, which is Big Room right here. Select that, that's my sidechain. And then have a look down here. This is the sidechain bit. So you want to, as default, it'll be selected as output. Select sidechain, like that, and it'll come up like this. What you want to do, right, if you have like just a kick track and you wanted to just knock the instrument out using the kick, then you wouldn't have to do so much here. But seeing as I have a full track of drums, what I want to do is use a low pass filter, which is here, LP, low pass filter. And I want to take the frequency down to, somewhere around 200, something like that, that we know that the kick is going to be living beneath that mostly, all right? So we know that it's going to single that out. Then you have a cheeky little listen button. So you can just click that. If we solo this track, we can then just hear what the sidechain is that this compressor is hearing. It's a big thump. Let's turn off this reverb, it's distracting. All right, so that's what it's hearing. Now we just turn it on, right, and we're still soloed out, right? So we're still soloed. We turn it on, have a listen to the difference when you're sidechaining that kick. All right, so you see what it's doing? The kick drum is knocking out that static noise, right, just for a second, and then it's coming, the volume level's coming back up. And what I've got here, this is kind of to taste, but it's reducing probably around 12 dB, or maybe 11 or 12 dB of gain reduction there. So you want to, I mean, it's up to you and your taste and how things sound to you. To me, that was where it should be. And what I've done here is I left the threshold kind of where it was, and I upped the ratio instead of dialing down the threshold. It's another way to work. I've got the attack as quick as it will possibly go. You don't have to do that. I've got that down as quick as you want to go, and the release is pretty damn fast as well, 13 milliseconds. You don't necessarily want it on auto. You want to play around and see what release time works for you and your tempo and your style of song and that sort of thing. All right, so have another listen, and I'm going to turn off this compressor so you can hear what it's doing normally. Just making a noise. But if we turn this back on, it's thumping away again, which is awesome. That's what we want. All right, so let's listen to that in the mix and see what we're doing. Let's turn it off. Alrighty, so I hope that helped. That's something that you've probably heard that technique a lot on the radio and things like that, but never really known what it was, maybe. So I hope I kind of cleared that up for you. It's a great technique that you can use, obviously, in dance tracks, but you can use it in rock tracks and pop, of course, and all that sort of thing, if you want to just lift things and give more of a pumping feeling. It was very popular in the 90s and early noughties, and I think they're bringing it back, so there you go. I'm bringing it back. Other ways I've used this, I had a song called Tropical Christmas that came out last Christmas, that's 2017, and I used it in that, and it wasn't so much of a thumping kick drum, it was a natural kick drum. But the way I use the static noise, to me, kind of sounded like the waves of the ocean. So kind of different there, something a bit more artistic. There's just an example. It doesn't have to be typical thump dance track. It can be something more artistic. It's just an interesting side-chaining technique to use. So I hope that helped. Enjoy it. Last thing, if you are starting recording and mixing and you're looking for equipment recommendations and stuff like that, you don't know what you're meant to buy, you don't know what you need to get started recording and mixing on an affordable budget. It's very important. We don't all have thousands and thousands of dollars to spend on stuff. So I want to get you started because the most important thing is learning your craft, not buying endless pieces of gear you're not probably going to use. Let's get you started on some great equipment that you can afford, and then you can learn with me how to record and mix. All right. If you're looking, by the way, if you're looking to do that, I have an ebook for you, 25-page free ebook for you to download. It's got all of the equipment you'll need to get started. It's got recommendations, there's some tips and tricks in there, and on the very last page, there's even like a little chart so you can keep track of your the equipment you've bought and the equipment you need and your budget and how much you've spent and that sort of thing. So it's just helpful. It's just an absolutely free gift from me to you. Just click on the link in the description. Give me your email address so I can actually send it to you, and enjoy. That's it, really. I will be back next week. I'm sorry, it's been a little while since the last video. I've been a bit busy moving my life to a different continent, but now I'm on that different continent talking to you from the different continent. It's a mystery as to where this continent is. Maybe I'm on an island all by myself, talking to you about Logic Pro 10. Weird. All right, have a great time recording and mixing, my friend, and leave your comments, thumbs up below, all of that business. If you're having any trouble with your sidechain compression, ask me a question. I love answering questions. And if you liked this technique, let me know. If you hated this technique, then don't let me know. No, go ahead. You can tell me. Anyway, have a great day. Enjoy recording and mixing, my friend. See you soon. Ciao.